just observation's interesting. At one point we were probably, I mean, maybe the peak was 21, 23 um, that would join on this call. And then you can see over time, this is, so we got 2, 4, 6, and two of them are the VAs, ISAs. So we got, you know, 6 of us on the call. But this is par for the course. This is what it looks like. Um, I get it. As you get busier, certainly you've got things you got to prepare for, whether it's meeting with clients to go over disclosures or an inspection in the afternoon and in the morning. Um, it is also summer, so I know a lot of parents out there, it's challenging because they're trying to shuttle the kids to daycare camp or, camps and pickups um, but this is what it looks like. And this is probably the most challenging part about entrepreneurship is showing up. I actually shot a video on this. And if you've worked with me or we've coached together, freshman year is usually, I mean, if you have a good freshman year in real estate, because you're really motivated, you're inspired, you're really wanting to do everything you can to get your career off of the ground. And, even at that, it's a 10% success rate. So 90%, unfortunately don't make it past year one. But if you do, and you continually show up and apply what you learn and just be vulnerable and, try to minimize the noise between the ears and block out the self-talk, you'll have a great year. And a great year in Southern California could be 6 transactions. It could even possibly be four. Four would be okay because of our price points. And then there's the sophomore year. And I would look at that as a musician. A lot of musicians in year one, sometimes they just get chosen and they may not even have the voice for it, but because somebody or an agent or someone sees something in them as from a marketing perspective, they get professional writers, music writers, lyricists, musicians, producers, and then they have the relationships with the radio stations and what have you, and they just hit it out of the park. You're like, wow, where did that come from? And then usually the sophomore year is when they feel like they got it and they want to start writing their own lyrics and they want to start writing their own music. And then they want to put the band together on their terms. And I get it. And then what happens is they went away from everything that worked freshman year. And then the sophomore album, most times, if you look, they're a flop. They just don't do as well or even as close. And a lot of the times is because they stop doing again what they did in year one. They deviate from the plan. And it's very similar to real estate. And I see Dennis join the call. I mean, Dennis and I've had this conversation. The sophomore year is when you just start not showing up, not pouring into yourself, not practicing on the scripts, not preparing for the new agreements that are coming out. Stop doing the open houses that got you your deals to begin with. Stop posting your social media that got you your prospects to begin with. Stop staying disciplined to the calendar to making sure you're executing on all the things that we always need to do day in and day out. And then they kind of, and they work from home, which is cool if you have that mindset and discipline to still do it. But I can say the laundry will work its way into the equation. My extended lunch will work its way into the equation. I'll roll down to the coffee shop rather than just make my cup at home. I mean, all these things add up. And then before you know it, your pipeline is dead and it's going to take you 90 days to build it all back up. So the point is that this is what it looks like for the six of us on this call today. As we all know, it started at 20 plus, but that's why it's always about consistency and discipline. Those two things are the only thing that really matters. And if you miss one, it's okay. You just can't miss two, because then it starts to become easier to just put it off. And it's a very, very slippery slope. Then you've got to recreate the habit again to build the momentum to motivate and inspire yourself to show up, or to do that open house, or to make those 20 calls, or to go, whatever else is challenging, whether it's the gym, your eating habits, all of those things. So, kudos to you. Nothing against the others, Hopefully they'll come on the next one on Friday. But this week's been very quiet. And this is why sales are down 35%. People just start checking out a little bit. Or maybe they're having to take care of other financial responsibilities because sales are down across the boards, and the bills keep coming. Electricity, mortgage, rent, everything. It's still piling on. And so again, that's why I'm always trying to push and say, take advantage when you get one into escrow. You have to double down. You cannot come up for air knowing that there's a high probability of getting a paycheck. You need to ride the wave, take the momentum, and double down on your lead gen efforts to go get another one. And that's why we always, in launch coaching, we always end the day with how many buyers or sellers, how many pieces of business do you have? Because that's a direct reflection of what your revenue is going to look like in 60 to 90 days. And if you can't, put a name, and it's more, oh, well, there's this one person, they referred me, and we've connected, and if you don't know their name yet, then I truly would not even count that as an A plus or an A buyer. It still sounds like there's some groundwork to be made. You should know exactly. I've got Bill who's looking in Bellflower. The challenge is he's qualified for up to 800, and what he wants is on 825. So we're having a conversation of either we got to move out of Bellflower and go to Norwalk or some other city that maybe price points are at 775. I'm working with Sarah, who is waiting to, whatever, like you should be boom, 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 boom. And every day you got to look at this pipeline and make a touch to them. Hey, Sarah, it's Scott, just checking in. It's a text. I'm just dropping on her. I know we were waiting to get that document from HR. Any luck on that yet? I'm pushing them too. I'm holding them accountable, because when we met, their goal was to do something by a specific date. And it's they're hiring us to help them achieve that goal. And sometimes just putting the little seed in their ear and keep not nagging them, not trying to sell them, just keeping the momentum moving forward is what they need. And when they cross that finish line and you were a big part of that experience, the 5-star raving reviews come, the gifts to you at the close of escrow come, which is an amazing feeling. But more importantly, the referrals come. So when they tell you something that I'm just going to wait, be curious, ask them, well, I'm going to wait till January. Just curious, what's happening in January? You have to know what they're thinking and be curious enough for them to open up to share. So maybe, again, the goal isn't to try to sell them. It's just try to figure out and help solve their problem. Maybe if they want to buy and they don't think they can buy until January, like Rosemary on the call yesterday. The client wanted to save more money for a down payment or for closing cost. And we can obviously negotiate that in, especially right now. I don't want to sound like a broken record because many of you are in launch yesterday, but there is that window of opportunity for a buyer to get an optimal deal. It's right now. I think in the next hour, the Feds are going to talk about where rates are. There's probably not going to be a lot of movement, but what they're going to do, they're setting the expectation for September 13th or 16th when the next one is. That's when it's going to drop. Not substantially, but it's going to move the needle a lot. And you're going to start to see everything start to pick back up. And then the next one, it's going to drop even more. And then the media is going to catch on. And then you're going to see a frenzy happening. And then it's going to be highly competitive. And it's going to be tough. And mortgage applications are going to go up. So this is that window. I don't want to say this year, I would say it's probably the second one. But there are always going to be these sweet spots where if they're serious and if you can educate them and convey the message, they could hit it out of the park right now. They could hit it out of the park right now.
That's what I've been harping to everybody that I'm meeting for the first time, that there's a window of opportunity. I think we just got to keep preaching it, and somebody's going to take us up on it and be able to be our next escrow. So especially the people that we haven't heard from in 2, 3 months, I have a template just letting them know what the market is looking like right now.
That is exactly who will take advantage and seize the moment. It's the people that were making offers 90 to 120 to maybe 150 days ago that got outbid. And then they felt like they were just getting tossed and turned in this market and just, you know what, we're just going to enjoy summer. Let's just pick it back up later. They are the ones that you want to hit from 3 to 4 months ago and say, hey, I know when we were working together, the market was bananas. It's drastically cooled off. I don't know if you've noticed, but the market sales wise are down 35%. Cancellations, there were 15% of opened escrows were down 15% in the month of June. I think July's numbers aren't out, but it's going to follow suit. The Feds are, after like in an hour when you see the rates drop a little bit, the Feds dropped the rate just a tad, but they're basically, the point of it is they're prepping everyone that they like where inflation is, unemployment. They like where everything is at, and they're expecting a rate drop in September. And so everyone like you is waiting, but I'm telling my clients and I'm reaching out to the ones that I think that missed the opportunity 3 to 4 months ago that this is it. And then you go right into your stories. You got to give them an example. I've got a client or my peer in my office, whatever that looks like for you. We were able to buy and negotiate 25, 30, 40,000 below list price, and I was still able to get him $15,000 in closing cost. And then when we did the request, the inspection, we were still able to get him a brand new HVAC unit. You got to tell them all these things because those are all the things that were not possible 3 to 4 months ago. Agents are returning calls now. They want feedback from you guys, those that are working with buyers. Their sellers are panicking. Reality is setting in. But it's not going to be long, though. That's the tricky part. It's not going to be long. So go through your database, start looking up, tracking all your old nurtures, and just start, whether you want to shoot a video and then just send it to everyone, or you want to reach out and call them. The conversation just starts out, I know when we were last working together back in March, we weren't having success at the time because the market was still highly competitive. And I'm not sure if you know, but it's drastically cooled down. And just start the conversation. All right. Is anyone looking? Get my laptop. Anyone looking to test out for practice? Oh, we got a lot more people on the call now. Mary, Sarang's been on. Rafi, Moises, Austin, Adriana. for.
I have a scenario I like to talk about. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm gonna pause and take my dog out. So I'm working with a seller and I noticed that my contract with her is going to expire after listing in 2 months. The contract was dated like way back, but she wasn't ready to list it yet. So I had to take a listing before someone else beat me to it. And so now it's on the market and 2 months is like ticking. So I had a call with her before it goes on the market to, relay that message and let her know because we've seemed to have really good relationships so far. And then she didn't pick up, so I ended up texting her and gave her the news and asked her to extend the contract for another month, um, from September to like I don't know, like November or something like that. And then she says no. She says, why can't you sell it in 2 months? And so she started to become aggressive. So, hello, can you hear
You're
me?
wrong. You're
We can
good.
hear you.
You're
We
good.
can hear you. They're saying that they can't hear Scott.
Oh, okay. And then so yeah, it was a tough conversation because it became aggressive on her end and started calling, you know, names, whatnot. Um, so I know for a reason right now that the market is slowing down, and we had a great successful open house. Like, many parties came in, but still, like, offers are not coming as fast. So I was prepared to have that conversation with her first so that it's not that difficult in the second month. And but it is what it is. So how do you go around that?
Okay, sorry, I was getting off the phone and my laptop is charged. I think the question was setting the expectation with the sellers where activity was high at your open house, but no offers were coming in.
Yeah, but prior to the open house and prior to even listing, I had that conversation the day before we listed because I noticed the months were going to be, less than 2 months to be on market. And I explained to her that, and this is a very practical like timeline for me as a listing agent is that we need minimum 3 months to market properly because or even be on contract. Because 1 month you need that time to market. The second month is you're in escrow, the third month in case things fail. So she didn't, agree to that and only allowed 2 months. And so we're stuck with 2 months. But I'm just a little, not stressed, but I'm not used to this.
Yeah, yep. This is where we earn our big bucks. So when you took the listing, what did you price it? What did you come to the market at? And what did you want to come to the market at?
Oh, I've been working with her since October, but like she used up a lot of time to ask for comps every month, and I stick to my gun with like going as low as possible. I originally wanted to list it at 999, because I didn't want to tell her that her property is like adjacent to like Dorkday or Irwindale, and it's not closer to Arcadia because then we're Arcadia is different. But she was like sending me comps that were 1.7, 1.6, 1.5, 1.3. And mind you, this house is not in that condition. And I had to help her clean and stage to be similar in that condition. So we agreed finally to 1099, which I'm like thinking that's the best I can get. And so and I feel that will come. But with everything that I'm reading and every like kind of just feeling the market, the buyers are, it's swinging towards them and they are having a lot more time to shop and to think.
Yep.
So it's, it's difficult.
So what I'm hearing, I think, is even though they made the improvements, though, you should have hit you wanted to bring the house to the market at $1 million, 999.
Yes, because I keep on relating to her that, we want to make it look like it's a deal in this market.
Yep.
Um, you have to list your price like it's a deal because
Yeah.
buyer are holding their money, and if the escrows that I have been accepted is because the sellers are just so motivated, they're just like, I'm done suffering.
Yep. Yeah. So there's two things that you said there. One, the sellers have to be motivated. So is she motivated to sell would be question number one. Like, why is she looking to sell to begin with? And then, creating a little bit of pain, like, well, what would happen and how soon did you want to do that? And what would it look like or what would happen if you weren't able to do that within the time frame that you wanted to do that? Because everything is leading back down to, well, then let's do the right thing and go with what I'm suggesting at 999. So, sometimes if especially when, see, it's okay to take 1,099,000 listing 6, 4, or 5 months ago. It's very difficult. This is a very, very difficult conversation for 80% of the agents right now.
Yeah, I got
Right?
her down from 1.250.
I
So,
know, but see, you did, which is a big hurdle, but she was still $100,000 over your recommended price. And so she is trying to, she wants you to pull a rabbit out of the hat.
yeah. Yeah, she is. And she wants me to do it in 2 months. And, we're gonna do open houses every weekend and see what happens. But like I feel like she's putting me in the corner and I know she's panicking and she's also motivated because she wants to do a 1031, I'm sorry. And it's been vacant for like, 3 months, so she's not collecting rent. And her worst case scenario is just like get new tenants afterwards. And not be able to go to Seattle. So that's her resolution.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I don't know. It's the question was again, like, how do I get her to come down? So typically it's always going to be setting the expectation up front. If you play by their rules first, if you decide, okay, let's do this, Rom, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna agree and we're gonna go at 1,099,000. And if in 2 weeks we don't see any offers, I'm proposing we go with my plan
Right. So can
at
I share
99.
another layer of hurdle?
Yeah.
I've never been in this situation before, but this is very interesting. So as I was asking her to do what I asked from her, and I've been, telling her what to do, and she's been listening. She got fed up because I asked her the day before we list, to extend the contract for another month. And so she got mad, and so mad that she didn't want to talk to me anymore. And then so she asked, "Can you please, have Chris take the listing?" And she wants to talk to Chris only from now on.
Yeah. Wow.
So, so any suggestions here on, like I have to relay the message to Chris because she doesn't want to listen to me. She's done listening to me and or taking my suggestions. And that's what we do for a living is offer suggestions, right? So she's asking Chris for suggestions, but obviously Chris is going to come to me and ask me what to do. And here's the hurdle, right? Everyone's on the sideline right now because of the election. Like that's normal. But the election's going to go. Either one's going to win. The market's going to go up anyways, like with more buyers in the market and interest rates going to drop. So we know it's coming and we know the market's going to open up. So that's probably when it's going to sell. I already know like that's what's going to happen if no one buys it within 2 months.
Well, what's it going to
So
sell at though when the election happens? Are you saying it's going to sell at 1-1? I don't think so.
I'm not sure because the thing about the property that's unique is that there's not a lot of 2 units in Monrovia, and people do like Monrovia. We are seeing a lot of, the kind of traction race and that comes to, wanting to buy in that pocket. So it has a back unit, it's clean, there's no tenants, both units, it's available right now.
Yeah.
So
Here's the thing though. if you believe it's going to sell after the election, where does that put you though? Because you only got a 2-month listing agreement and she doesn't even want to talk to you. There's something happened during this process where the trust is broken now for whatever reason. She doesn't even want to talk to you. It's going to be hard no matter what we say or talk about right now. It's going to be difficult because this is coming through Chris. She doesn't trust what you're saying at this point.
Yeah, because she has sold properties in the past, and she's like, I've never heard of having any listing that's 5 months. And like, she's kind of the person who's like, she has to look like she's the smartest person in the room. And I'm just giving her facts that she doesn't want to hear, you know. And I, there's clients that's going to be stronger than you. And I think it's because I match her energy and she didn't want to hear it.
Well, that's going to be a challenge. How are you going to sell a house in 1 or 2 months if she's not going to communicate with you? So the point too, though, is there's other signs that were stacking on top of each other during this process. Like as an example, she wanted 1.5. You got her down to 1.1,
Hmm.
but you wanted her down another 100,000. Sometimes, especially when the market shifts, it's better. Now that you've experienced this, you know what it looks like. If they don't follow your lead, it's going to be a very difficult process. If the trust isn't
Hmm.
established and they're not willing to go with what I want to do to get them sold so she can 1031 to move to Seattle within the
Yeah.
120 days, you know what? I'm not sure by taking this listing at 1.1, I think I'd be doing you a disservice because based on the data,
Yeah.
is worth $1 million. So if I took this listing, it's going to sit. And then we're going to go at it and you're going to think it's my fault. And I'm going to say, well, I told you so. Then you're going to want to fire me. I would rather do this, Saram. Why don't we do this? Go list with another agent for 30 days, like you wanted to get me to sign, or 60 days max. Go list it at 1.1. I hope it sells. I really
Yeah,
do.
but we already on the market now at 1-1. So we're
I
already
know.
on the market.
But I'm saying though, when the signs are pointing yellow and red, we have to be okay to walk away from the listing, or they will break and they will see that we are not after the compensation.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the
Yeah.
challenge. They think you just want to list it so I'm at $1 million because you just want to get paid.
Mhm.
You don't
Right,
care
right,
about my exchange or me netting
right.
top dollar.
Yeah. And she's giving us the pressure that she has to identify a property within 45 days. And also, the prices of Seattle is growing and it's going higher and higher. So she's taking out on all these, information that hasn't even begun yet because she can't even identify a property until she's under contract.
That's
There's
right.
nothing to work with for a 1031 exchange. So it's like, it's I have to relay. I feel like in 2 weeks or even by the end of the month, Chris has to learn and, relay this message over to her and tell her like, give her a couple options because I don't want to wait till the second month. I already know like where the market is turning.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be very difficult at this point because she's not communicating with you anymore. She wants to control the narrative, and so
She
that's why she
does.
wants Chris. She wants to control Chris. Chris has to stick his foot down and just be like, look, and he has to
Hmm.
take control and just say, and when you say, you know what, at this point, I think it would be best if we just severance away so you can get on to what you want to do and I can too as well. Because if we just continue
Hmm.
what we're doing right now, it's not going to work. It's just the
Yeah.
market buyer. We've been on the market for X amount of days. If we haven't seen the activity yet, or even an offer, I haven't even got you an offer yet. So if
Hmm.
you're not willing to do a price reduction, I just think we should just call it quits at this point. Go list with another agent. Go try and see what their marketing plan can do. I hope you get it. And if you don't, and you get serious and you really want to move to Seattle, call me and we'll go back.
Hmm.
My fear is though at that time, I'm not sure where the market's going to be. I'm saying it's $1 million today. It might be 950.
Yeah. Yeah.
Takeaway.
I mean, who knows?
You're creating fear in them.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah. So look, be bold. This is remember this conversation is the highest skill set in what we do. This is why
Mm-hmm.
agents typically shy away from listings, but I promise you, it's no different in negotiations with a buyer or a listing agent. You just
Absolutely.
have to say what you know it needs to be heard.
I was very adamant and I did not break. I did not change my words or attitude, and I stick with it because I believe what I do is professional, and I'm bringing experience and also insight to them before they have to injure themselves. But it's up to them if they take the advices or not, and if they feel like, they're stuck or whatnot. But that's the thing, we're problem solvers, and if they allow us to problem solve their problems, it will happen smoothly. But if they are not relinquishing their control and they are that type of person, because that's the thing, that's why it's hard to get listings, is because like she yelled at me on the phone and said, "You're supposed to listen to me," and it's not. I'm hired not.
That ain't flying with me. I would just say, you know what? You hired me for a reason.
You
I'm not,
hired me, yeah, to
you're
teach you
hiring
how
the
to
professional.
list.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah. So here, I know you know what you're doing. The art of getting them to do what we want them to do is formulating what we want to tell them. If we want to tell them,
Mm-hmm.
they're not listening. Their wall is up.
Mm-hmm.
You have to figure a way to convey what you're trying to articulate by asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
That's the secret sauce to all this. I know you all know what to do and say. The problem is they don't want to be told anything. It all comes down to self-discovery. And the way that that happens is you have to ask the questions so they answer it and they're walking right into what you're trying to say. But it's
Mm-hmm.
coming out of their mouth and everything connects. And they may not admit it, but subconsciously they're thinking, oh shit, I see what he's saying. That's
Mm-hmm.
the secret to I don't want to say to sales because I'm no sales guru, but this is what works though. They won't listen to you when you just hit them over the head. You got to
Right.
keep asking them questions to create the pain, like using Seattle against them. Using, well, I know you want Top Dollar to do your 1031 exchange. I think you mentioned, the home's been vacant for 90 days. How much income are you receiving in the last 90 days? Oh, 4,000 a
Mm-hmm.
month, 5,000 a month. So that's $15,000 we've already lost. How much more money do you want to lose before you're going to do the right thing to get this sold?
Right.
See, that just created some pain that I know she's thinking about. I'm already losing 5 grand a month. Well, how much more do you want to lose? You lost 15 grand already by pricing it at 1.1. And now at this pace,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be another 3 months until you
Yeah.
decide to do what you hired me for.
Yeah. I was
Otherwise,
I was
I don't think I'm
trying
the
to
right fit for you.
avoid. Yeah, I was trying to avoid like having a price drop. I hate having a listing have a price drop, but it's like, and we were trying to avoid that. So when she gave me 1.099, I was like, okay, we'll go with that because there's no way she's gonna give me 999. But that's
But
cool.
but if you know it's not going to sell, then you don't want to take it because this is what happens. She is consuming all of
True,
your
true,
energy
true.
and limiting you from working with someone who wants your help.
True. And right now, honestly, in my gut, I feel like, going in at 1099 was okay, the best thing I could do at the time. And we were hoping to list it like it back in June, which would be a different market, but now like we're heading to August. So I I think there could be like a Hail Mary maybe, because we're kind of in that 50-50 chance like market is slowing down and may not pick up or not. But with the 2 units, I feel like someone may come through. So that's
I
why I'm
I
thinking,
believe someone's going to come through. I just don't think it's going to be at 1,099,000.
yeah, we'll see.
It's probably going to come where you said it was going to come in.
Yeah, I'm gonna, you know, keep you updated.
Yeah, please. Well, the clock is ticking. Otherwise, look, if you feel you're at a tipping point, just give back the listing and then see, and you'll either flush it out really quick. They're either going to agree to work with you and do what you say, or they're going to agree and just get rid of you because they wanted to do that to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, you're just playing fastball. Let's just get right to it. Quit dicking around. What
Mm-hmm.
do we want to do? You want to sell it or you don't? If you don't want to sell it, that's totally cool. I get it. That's your decision. I'm just not the right person for it. So I want to just severance our ways and be friends after this and give it back. If it doesn't sell when you list with the next person, call me back when you're serious and I'll get it done. I promise you. We'll pick up right where we left off.
Yeah. Thank you.
Tough one. But yeah, so this is what's going to happen with the sellers, with the listings right now that are going to come up, that are coming on. These are going to be the hardball conversations we need to have with them because they're still going to expect 6 months ago sales. So it's always going to come down to the data that you bring to the properties, or I'm sorry, to the appointment. It's always the data. It's never my opinion. It's not what I think. It's what are buyers paying for, and not in the last 90 days. What are they paying in the last 30 to 45 days max? And what's crazy, they're not really paying anything because they're not really buying. So you got to show all of the active listings, days on market. They have to see this because their buddy at the office just said, we got top dollar. But that was like 8 months ago. We got 100,000 over list price. They didn't tell them though that was 8 months ago, even 6 months ago, even 4 months ago. I get it. I would agree. You didn't get, I would say my first word to say, I doubt you got that in the last 30 days though. I would challenge them on that. This is why you guys are always studying the market and reading, you know, all, you know, wise, you know, all of the different blogs, noting them, sending them to your clients. This will be the challenge. And then the next part is what's going to happen is on the listings, they're going to say, well, I'm ready to list. And, you know, I understand I don't have to pay a compensation to the buyer's agent. Then you're going to have to get over that hurdle. And because I think in Monday's meeting, a few of you were in that room. You had mentioned that we are seeing zero commission or some shenanigan stuff of $10. It's how, you know, it's going to happen. Again, I think if I were to go on a listing appointment, I'm pretty I mean, I would definitely encourage um, the sellers to, well, you always could do that. You could have done that last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. They were always negotiable, but it's going to be in your best interest to offer compensation because 90% of today's consumers are represented by an agent. By not offering them a compensation, you're working with 10% of the pool. Do you think we would be better off getting top dollar with 10% of the crowd, not offering compensation? Or should we offer compensation to 90% of the people and get top dollar? Wouldn't it make sense to spend 15,000 to get 50,000 more? I think that's a good return on your investment. I believe you would want to do that every day, wouldn't you? See, those are questions, right? And I see you guys shaking your heads. Yes, those are questions where they don't even have to answer it because it's so obvious that if you say no and you go against with what I'm saying, you can do that. It takes a very strong personality, though, for them to say, yeah, Scott, I get it. I see what you're doing here. I still don't want to offer compensation. Yeah, well, and I'm not going to fight them. I just look them dead in the eye and go, yeah, you have that right. We could try to work with the 10%. I think you're limiting yourself, but we could do that. You're right. So I think the goal, the message really today is we need to figure out how to ask these questions in the negotiations, even having the conversations. The minute they say something negative, you have to bounce the ball right back in the form of a question. If you were to do that, do you think this or this would happen? They're going to answer it. Then what I'm waiting for is I'm waiting for them to say, what do you think is going to happen? Now they're giving me permission to tell them what I want to say. I think the challenge is a lot of the times when they say something, we say what we want to say right back at them. And you turn into this friction. And they translate that as, you're not listening to me. You don't care about me. You're just saying what you want to say, and I'm not having it. You know, that's this. I'm going to figure this out exactly what to say. Remember, we talked about this book. Chris Smith just had a guest speaker yesterday on Zoom. I'm hoping I couldn't attend it, but I'm hoping he sends out the recording because I want to share it because I'm sure it's good. But this is a role play game. So these are like cards. I'm not sure how to play it yet, but these are all about, when someone says this, what would you say back? All objection handlers. So these are available for everyone to take a look at. But once I, figure out how to play this game, maybe we could see how this thing works and we can play, role play them, whether in person or on Zoom. But Exactly What to Say by Phil Jones. It's a quick, easy read. Take a look at it. You can find it. Just Google it too. You can find YouTube videos on it. But the book is $6. You'll read it in an hour. Any thoughts or questions on any of this?
What blogs are you listening to get like market insights that you're sending to your clients, like you mentioned?
I knew you guys were going to ask me that. I'll put them in
Like
Slack.
The Real Deal?
No,
No.
I think that's more not gossip. Yeah, gossip.
Okay.
Like more about what agents and who's going where.
Okay.
Housing Wire is a great one.
Housing.
I get morning email. Of course, I'm looking, Redfin does some really
Keeping
good
Current
stuff.
Matters is always a safe bet as well.
Oh yeah, thank you. Keeping Current Matters. There's another one. I want to say Real Estate something. I'll get it and I'll send it. But so all I do is I just register on their site, and then they do Monday headlines of the top stories. And that's all I glance at. I'll just glance at them. And if there's a story headline that looks interesting, then obviously I'm going to read it. But otherwise, I just kind of see what's happening.
Cool.
All right. All right.
Oh, I asked in the chat if you ever have a seller that's really bananas and wants to go like too high in price, do you ever do an appraisal first just to get them realistic or no?
Let me ask you this. Does that come from them, or are you thinking about presenting that?
I would think about presenting that.
Okay,
But
no, that's
I know
cool.
that's probably
Because see, my answer is different depending on where it comes from. Meaning, for me, I don't think I would offer that. And the reason why is because if you were to get 10 appraisers, you're going to get 10 different evaluations. Yeah, they'll all be kind of around the same. The challenge, though, is the appraisers, when it's not based on a sale, and like if they were to do a refi versus a sale contract price, the prices will really be different. On a refi, they'll push the envelope for you because you're trying to unlock money. On a resale, they're just going to bring it typically in at value just to avoid having to write a one-page summary afterwards. Like if they bring it in over value, the banks will want to know why. And then they have to explain and really pinpoint and spend another hour and a half on the report when they don't want it. They just want to collect their $600 and be done. So and so that's what I say to the clients. And then unless, Rachel, if it's a very remote horse property or acres, something really weird, or mineral rights, or I would definitely see myself doing that. But if it's like a Los Altos or Bellflower home and we're just not eye to eye, I personally would not.
Okay, thank you.
Because it could backfire. That's the only reason why. Any other closing thoughts, questions? I mean, we got Inner Circle in a couple hours, so, you know. All right. Okay. All right. Keep sharpening your skills. Keep investing in yourselves. Happy Wednesday. Hopefully I'll see you guys in about an hour and a half.